Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Harmoning with the Savage Chamber of Commerce. We're here today for a Meet the Candidates program for Savage City Council. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator today, Carter Sharp.
Thank you, Jennifer. My name is Carter Sharp. I'm with the Savage Advisory Board for the Chamber. Excited to hold this candidate forum for City Council for this coming year. Early voting has started, so feel free to do that. I'm going to introduce real quickly. It's Josh Fiedler, Matt Johnson, Nick Wen, and Faisal Suleiman will all be talking and introducing themselves. We'll get started first with Joshua Fiedler. Everybody has 2 minutes to talk about just a little intro. Let us know a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for office, Josh.
Perfect. Thank you, Carter. I appreciate that. And thanks, Jennifer, for hosting. Yeah, my name's Josh Fiedler. I've been living in the city of Savage for over a decade now. I have a history of law enforcement, including with the Savage Police Department here. So kind of a proven history of public service already in the city of Savage. About 5 years ago, I exited the career law enforcement and now work in the technology sector, but still with the federal government and serving that way. What I've done in the past and why I'm running mostly is driven by the community. So obviously my service to Savage led me to even more love than I had when I moved in to the community. And in growing that presence and growing the connections that I have, I've met a lot of people. When I exited law enforcement, they wanted to maintain that connection. And ever since then, I've kind of been told at each election point that I should probably try it out, get in there. The ideas that I had were good. I was a union president when I was with the city of Savage, so I've worked with the city at numerous points during that time frame, many of which in the leadership who are still there. So I have some pre-existing relationships, and a lot of that can help out in forging those bonds. You can start at 0.2 instead of starting at 0 when you're meeting everybody and getting up and running. In addition to that, the community members that I mentioned before that have had a lot of experience in knowing me, including some of those who, again, are still at the city of Savage, they all encouraged me to run. So this was more of an idea from forged by the community than from mine. But since then, I've really grown to warm up to it, and I'm excited for the possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Josh. Our next presenter will be Matt Johnson. Again, let us know about yourself and what motivated you to run for office.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. So I'm Matt Johnson. A bit about my history. I'm a University of Minnesota School of Architecture graduate. I'm a practicing architect. I'm a husband and father of 4. And I am seeking a 3rd term for City Council. I guess you could call me a local boy, certainly. I grew up on the west side of Burnsville and attended Neal Elementary School and Nicollet Junior High and Burnsville High School over the years, and then off to the University of Minnesota, where I graduated School of Architecture in '91. My wife and I have been married going on 34 years now. We built our first home, or in the home we're in now, our home, in Savage back in 1991, and I've raised 4 children and still live in that home. I've always been involved with my community, from a den leader and Cub Scout pack leader to coaching baseball for my boys and serving multiple terms on the Parks and Rec Commission, as well as the Planning Commission, prior to running my first term in 2015. So again, this is I'm running for my 3rd term. And so my choice to run for council originally, it just seemed like the next logical progression for my involvement with the city. And it's really, I found it's just a great way to really give back to the community. And it's a way for me to engage with the skill sets that I have as an architect, things I've been trained to do when I'm practicing for my career, my 30+ career. So the profession, it certainly taught me how to listen to people. We listen to clients all the time. We understand the value of thought leadership, but also how thought leadership is certainly influenced by thoughts of others. And the power of listening goes a long way in helping develop community. And so that same listening, that I do that listening with our business community as well as our public, to really understand what wants and needs are, and then really how do we align
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry about the timer. We'll do our best. Our next candidate would be Nick Wen. And again, Nick, tell us a little bit about yourself and what motivated you to run for office.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer and Carter, for this opportunity to speak with Savage residents and voters. Thank you for what you do for the city as well. So a little bit about me is that I've been a lifelong resident of our community in Savage, and I'm proud to be a resident of Savage each and every day that I live here. I grew up here, and it's been 20 years since I've been a Savage resident. What really motivated me to run for this office was the privilege of serving constituents and serving Savage residents, which I was able to serve when I interned for Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith when I was in Washington, D.C., where I gained valuable insights into how our constituents are served at the federal level and see the tremendous progress that these senators have done for our residents as well as for Minnesotans. And I'm very proud to stand for that and to give back to my community by directly addressing the concerns that you may have as a resident of Savage, and then keep our city growing, as well as to responsibly continue to develop Savage so that we can maintain that small town community feel while continuing to grow and progress as a city. So thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to voters, and I hope that I can represent you come this November.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, so our next candidate is Faisal. Faisal, tell us a little bit about yourself as well, and why and what motivated you to run for office.
Thank you so much. My name is Faisal Suleiman. I'm a father of 4. I have been living in the city for some time now, and before that, I live in Burnsville and Apple Valley. So I'm familiar with the community and the area pretty much very well. My background education is political science and international studies with emphasis of diplomacy. And I was an outstanding student of my education year. I graduated from Minnesota State University. I also have a certificate from Harvard University in media and public health, Harvard Medical School. And I have been in the service of community for many years, through a number of organizations and social service organizations. I have also a history of public service. Last time I was an election judge in one of our local cities, namely Apple Valley. So more than ever now, I'm determined to continue serving the community, and I would like to give back to the community. The community owes a lot, a lot to the community, so I would like to give back, and I would like to continue serving the community through representation and equitable policy making that reflects the makeup of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Faisal. Okay, so we're going to go for the first question. We're going to go to Matt, and then we'll keep moving down the list. So Matt, you're going to get the first question. And the first question is, what role do you believe city government plays in developing a positive business environment?
Certainly. Well, thank you, Carter. Well, I think it's very critical that the city helps encourage a positive business environment, because essentially a thriving business environment is what creates a livable community. A thriving business climate is where residents want to live. They want to partake in, they want to be able to walk to businesses, whether it's a place of employment or a place of restaurant, commercial, whatever it may be. So our role as a city is to, one, ensure that the businesses that are within our community, and especially those that require special licensing, are good, legitimate businesses. They'll be good for our community, but also ensure that they're following local ordinances, that they're zoned in the right spot, they're actually existing in the right locations, and to provide that balance within our community. So we don't have things ending up in the wrong location. So zoning becomes very critical. But the real fundamental thing is to ensure that we don't overburden our businesses with ordinances and special regulation as well. Just want to make sure they can run effectively. But then we can also work in harmony together to ensure that we're all got the same goal. It's the place we have business is a place we want to live, and we have our residents that want to partake in those businesses. So we do exist together, and we're a very critical kind of symbiotic relationship in that way. So it's critical that that they're thriving, and then we have a thriving housing market to support that business market as well.
Thanks, Matt. Josh, so what role do you believe city government plays in a positive business environment?
Yeah, it's really everything, honestly. I have a good friend who's a city administrator in a different city, and he once told me a story of how a small local business was almost put out of business by a fine that was going to be instituted by the government. Sometimes you really don't think about business in that context because of the fact that we have so many national chains and things like that in the space of business. But the reality is local businesses can be made or broken by what is put in at city government. Zoning, as was hinted at earlier, but also the spending direction of the city, where we choose to develop, what money we choose to put into the city can also create and foster a better business environment for them to thrive. I think there's also a lot to be said about relationships being made between the city government and businesses as well. When I was in law enforcement, there were programs for businesses to remediate any sort of violations that they had with non-monetary means, which I think are extremely beneficial for companies that need to be able to learn instead of learn to avoid future problems, instead of have that hanging over their head. And on top of that, again, just allowing our policies, laws, ordinances, and things like that to be a welcoming environment for businesses to want to move into Savage as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Josh. We're going to go this time to Faisal and then to Nick. So Faisal, if you could answer that one for us as well. What role do you believe city government plays in developing a positive business environment?
Yes, I believe city government can play a big role in terms of developing or encouraging businesses, especially small businesses. I believe that city government might open a small business office or commission, and that can be liaison between the business community and policy makers that can guide the business through permitting and consultation on the part of the business and the policy makers, which will in return foster the economy that can create jobs and foster the economy and stimulate the economic activities. Also, I think zoning is very important. That redirecting also is very important. That development businesses incentives can utilize that into development, and the developmental program incentives usually disproportionately favor the big businesses and the big corporations. I think that can be turned or redirected to the small businesses, which can foster the economic activities and create jobs as well. Also, I believe there should be some sort of on the part of the project or project developments should reserve a portion of the primary spaces, like first floor spaces for the local owned businesses, including the minority owned businesses as well, which in return.
Fine. You can. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Faisal. Nick, you're the last one on this question. What role do you believe city government plays in developing a positive business environment?
Sure, yeah. Well, I believe city government plays a critical role in shaping a positive business environment by fostering, inclusivity, sustainability, and innovation. A city government that's proactive, it can streamline regulations and cut unnecessary red tape so that our businesses can thrive, but also operate fairly and also ethically, especially with the soon to be legal businesses of selling marijuana products in Minnesota. I think it's more vital now than ever that we get it right, and we get it right on the first time that we do it, so that way our consumers can stay safe, but also our businesses can thrive and grow. But city government also plays a much larger role than just cutting red tape that's unnecessary. Investing in infrastructure projects such as public transit and building more walkable communities is also vital for ensuring a successful atmosphere that small businesses can thrive in, and generates character and community that once again is important to that small town feeling that many Savage residents express to me. My neighbors have certainly expressed that to me. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Nick. So you get the opportunity to go right back at it, Nick. So you're going to get the next question. The next question is for Nick, and then everybody else will follow. If elected to the city council, what would your top 2 priorities be?
So obviously, I've mentioned that one of my top 2 priorities would be, or no, not mentioned, but one of the top priorities would be to rebuild walkable communities. You know, I attended Carleton College down in Northfield, Minnesota, and Northfield is a very much a walkable community, and it's thriving. Unlike other rural small towns in Minnesota, I see lots of people, maybe because it's a college town, but Northfield is thriving because it's walkable. I want to bring the same to Savage and promote that type of development, specifically in downtown, where although it's walkable, it's far from ideal. And secondly, I would like to bring more civic engagement to the city council process. I want to keep our residents informed. The city is doing a good job at it already, but I think that we can always improve. And there's definitely room for improvement in terms of civic engagement and ensuring that our residents are kept in the loop and also have a place at the table to decide whether they want certain proposals to come through or certain proposals to not come through. And I think we can do that better, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Why don't we'll go to Matt on the next one. What do you believe the city council's role is in the form of government?
Okay. Well, I think in terms of our city members' role, our role as a city council member is really there's, I would say, 3 fundamental roles. First, the ability to listen to the citizens of our community, and then to balance what the needs and wants are of the community with the bureaucracy of the city government. And when I say bureaucracy, I don't necessarily mean in a bad way. It's more of cities are designed to run a certain way and follow rules and regulations laid out by the state, as well as our own charter. And so as a council member, we got to ensure that while all that needs to happen, we got to make sure that we're responding to what the citizens want. And how do we deliver in terms of what those demands or desires may be? The other fundamental role is that of developing a long-term vision for the city of Savage. And that vision is what guides our development and our investment within the city and the city infrastructure. And so it's critical that vision also responds to the city's wants and desires for growth, but also we look at it technically in terms of a city infrastructure, what works best for a growing community. And then thirdly, certainly fiscal responsibility is very much an oversight role of a city council member's role. And it's really to ensure that the tax dollars we have, you know, there are money, the citizens' money, our public's money. How do we ensure that it's being spent and invested appropriately? So we're delivering best-in-class services and being responsible for what they're giving us to work with.
Thanks so much, Matt. So Josh, we'll put it over to you. Same question. What do you believe the city council's role in Savage's form of government?
Yeah, so this is probably going to sound a bit like an echo, but my main things were that city council's main job, their 100% of their job, first and foremost, is just going to be being a voice for the people that live in the city of Savage and the people who voted them into office to do just that. Not everybody gets a chance to speak on every issue, to say everything that they believe in. And so it's the responsibility of the representatives of any population in these types of positions, especially local government, to do just that. And the second thing, and honestly, probably goes hand in hand with anything else that we talk today, is just fiscal responsibility as a broad concept from not only the money that is put into Savage, but the money that's already in place and the money that may occur in the future as well. As we talk about more and more issues here and the questions that'll go forward, we'll talk about the revenue streams may change for the city of Savage in the next 5 to 10 years from primarily residential to now a fully built out city or very close to it. And when we think about those types of things, having the ability to plan financially for what may occur is almost as, if not more important than being able to responsibly deal with what you have right on your plate in front of you. So those two things would be my most important. Thanks.
Thanks, Josh. Faisal, you would be up next. So what do you believe the city council's role in Savage's form of government? You're still on mute. You're on mute. There we go.
Okay, the role of a form of government, so in terms of Savage City, which is, I think, a type S city, is to pass the budget and financial responsibility way that satisfies and represents the voters and residents and in good governance, and also in terms of policy making and legislation, and appointing commissioners that advise the city council members and the mayor on the financial responsibilities and executing and allocation of the budget. And pretty much community engagement is very important in terms of financial responsibility. And I believe that it is the responsibility of the city council members also to hire a good employees for the staff of the city, and also remove those are the responsibilities that comes with the council member in Savage City Tab 1, and especially emphasize the legislation good that's based on good governance and the budget allocations.
Thank you, Faisal. Appreciate it very much. I'm gonna run it right back to you. We're gonna start with you on this third question. So, if elected to the city council, what would your top 2 priorities be? This is to Faisal. There we go.
Okay. I have multiple priorities that are actually that are importantly equal, but to just mention a few, you killed others in the process. So, but I think lowering tax, property tax is pretty much something that is a top priority for me, so that we can actually relieve financial restraints on the part of the residents, while actually leveraging other means of revenue generations. So that's actually a big one. And there are the second one might be infrastructure development in terms of the roads and transportation and communications and upgrading utilities and everything that to do with the infrastructure and innovation and technology and sustainable development and all that, which falls under the infrastructure development. So I also emphasize on public safety and training of training of the police department, and also equipping and funding the fire department in Savage. So those are pretty much the priorities that I have in mind, and I will give out the details in my campaign literature. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Faisal. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go to Josh for this question. If elected to the city council, what would your top 2 priorities be, sir?
Yeah, appreciate it. These are going to align really closely with City Council's main role. The last question that I answered, just because I feel like this is the best reason that we can get those things accomplished. The first one is going to be transparency is kind of the key term. You know, it's everybody's campaign. Everybody wants to get more transparency, and rightly so in politics. But I actually like the dissemination of information on top of that. So instead of just saying transparency, I feel like to make sure that the population understands that their voice is being best represented, the dissemination of the information could be improved substantially. We talk about the capabilities of Savage, and while I was working there, the ability for that technology to advance occurred substantially. There was a whole communications department developed and enhanced, and I know we have the capability to do more than we currently are to getting information out to the residents when decisions are made. And on the back of that, and related to my second answer in the previous question, ensuring fiscal responsibility is going to be my second priority that I want to make sure of. There's been a lot of concerns that have been brought up to me while I've been walking around meeting folks about spending decisions that have been made, and whether those concerns are based in reality or whether they're based on just concerns that are due to a lack of information. I feel like both of those priorities are going to help ensure that they go addressed. So thank you.
Thanks, Josh. We will go to let's go to Matt, and then we'll go to Nick. So Matt, if elected to city council, what would your top two priorities be?
Sure. So certainly, I think first, got to start with the understanding what is our basic charter of the city, and it's certainly to provide police and fire service, as well as our basic infrastructure for the city as it goes to roads, drinking water, parks type facilities. All that's only possible through a strong and healthy tax base. And what do we need to do to help ensure that? So really, for me, it comes down to the two fundamental things: is really how do you create a more welcoming and diverse community? So you want people to come move to our community, to live there, to broaden our tax base, to lower the cost of city to all our community members. And by doing that, what brings people to our community, it's that through the development of our trail system, what creates a walkable community, what creates a livable community. It's through a strong business environment as well for people to go and frequent. And the other big issue I think in front of us certainly is the size of the city in terms of land mass. So continue to work with leadership to guide development and redevelopment of our available land to help ensure we have a diverse mix of housing opportunities, whether it's from ownership to rental across all income scales, and all for all. So really, you're creating this welcoming environment that we're attracting people from within our region, even across the country for that matter, but to live within our community and help it become as diverse as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so Nick, I think you were the last one on this question. So that is, if elected to the city council, what would your top two priorities be?
So this is like just synonymous, I think, with a lot of what other folks have been saying, but I think lowering taxes is definitely a goal for me, for our residents. With the pandemic, things have gotten more expensive over the past few years. Groceries have gone up, gas have gone up, obviously, and I want to continue to foster a community where our residents can afford to live, and lowering property taxes is definitely one of those things that will hopefully alleviate the stress. But at the same time, we also have to fund our cities and ensure that our parks, our schools, our government operated resources are functioning well and are properly and adequately funded. So I believe that we should be more open to businesses. Businesses provide streams of revenue to our cities. They contribute to our local economy, and especially small businesses. They do that best. So this goes hand in hand with my small business and walkable community plan, as walkable communities attract the type of small businesses that we want to inhabit Savage. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, we're on to our final question, and then we will have the wrap up after that. So we're going to start with Josh on the final question. Being that we're part of the chamber, obviously the businesses are very important. That's kind of what this whole forum sort of hinges on. So what is your vision? And a lot of these questions are similar, so it's a little bit challenging, but what is your vision for economic development in Savage?
Yeah, no problem. They're similar because honestly, a lot of these things circle around the almighty dollar, and you can't do much without money. And money can come from multiple places, and Savage is very lucky to have over the years a building city. They've been building a lot of housing, they've been building a lot of communities, and they will continue to do that as much as we can. But as I mentioned earlier, we're near full residential build out. We have to start thinking about other revenue streams. In the past, if you're building a community or a community's moving in of houses or multifamily housing, you can count on that tax revenue stream coming in. But now that those communities are going to slow down and eventually stop due to lack of land mass to do so, we have to start thinking and focusing more on business developments, which ties back in with the first answer to the question of just making those things more accommodating for business to be able to move in. That has to deal with developing the land around or the area around that. I know there's a current project going on, which I commend the current city leadership for renovating the downtown area over the next several years. So I'm glad that's happening. Along with that goes hand in hand, expecting and anticipating the businesses that may want to move in there, the things that we might want to do with that. The marijuana business related information on the horizon here, which was also brought up as well. All of those things are possible additional revenue streams that we really need to focus on in the coming years. Thanks.
Thanks, Josh. Let's go to Faisal. The question is again, what is your vision for economic development in Savage?
Okay, my vision for economic development in Savage is workforce education and promoting the education in terms of training, in terms of partnering with institutions, higher institutions like universities and colleges, to provide skill development programs and training to the local residents so that they can produce a workforce which can meet the demands of the local employers and industries. That's one point. And the other point is infrastructure development that can be upgraded, which is supposed to be efficient and modern in terms of transportation and communication and utilities that too can generate profit in terms of economic growth, and also supporting local businesses in terms of program intensives and grants so that they will be able to create jobs and stimulate economic activities. So those 3 points.
Thank you very much, Faisal. Okay, we'll go at this point, we'll go to Nick. What is your vision for economic development in Savage?
So I actually have many proposals to economically develop Savage. One of the main ones is reconnecting Savage and Bloomington. You know, our communities were once connected via the Dan Patch Line Bridge, and now, unfortunately, after the last grain truck passed through in like 2008, that bridge has no longer been in use. So I think it's time that we restart the pathway to Bloomington so that we can encourage more Bloomington residents, Hennepin County residents to come into Savage and, you know, see what our city has to offer. I additionally would like to reiterate my point about building walkable communities, especially a walkable, inviting, and safe downtown. It's important that we have this so that way we can have a thriving small business community that you know, is contributing economically to not only our residents, but also to our city as well. And I can't unfortunately list all of the policies that I have here, but I encourage you to check out my website at nickforsavage.com to see all of the proposals that I have to bring economic development as well as overall infrastructure development to our great city. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Nick. For the last person on this question would be Matt Johnson. Matt, what is your vision for economic development in Savage?
Thank you. Well, quite simple. We got to bring people to the city to live, work, and play. And so we need to really capitalize on some of those kind of our naturally occurring resources in terms of our parks and trails and the Credit River and Eagle Creek, and as places to bring people to the community. Our dome does that in the wintertime. We have great businesses like Minnesota Mash. They're growing, developing their community, where several people come to our city that don't live here. They get to witness it through their children's eyes, through sports, through participating in some going to our local businesses to partake in what they have to offer. And so it's kind of building upon those occurrences to really encourage people to move here, which then leads to this idea, then how do we work with the development community to work more closely, to find opportunities to partner even on land opportunities with the development community, to provide a diverse set of housing opportunities. Again, said previously, housing opportunities where ownership's possible, but also rental opportunities across various income scales. The other fundamental, our pickleball courts have exploded in popularity. How do we, and that's just a great example of taking something and doing the best you can with it to really bring people to our community. That's a great incubator for bringing people to our businesses. All that brings dollars into our community, which allows the community to thrive even further. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matt. Okay, so now we're on to the final question. It's just a 1 minute. And basically is the question is, why are you the best candidate for to represent our area? And we will wrap it up. We'll start with Nick.
Thank you. As a lifelong resident of Savage, I've witnessed firsthand the growth of our city, from an exurb with agricultural traits such as farming to a suburb that has been built out. We are at a pivotal point in our growth transformation, and I think that I'm the one that is able to do this job because I've seen all of Savage and I've utilized almost all of the resources that Savage has. So I know this community well. Our city has grown into a vibrant and welcoming place for everyone, and I want to continue that with that spirit and build a community that maintains a small town character while also having the opportunity to grow and be adaptive to the modern needs of the 21st century. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, we'll go to Josh for that question as well. Why are you the best candidate to represent this area?
Perfect. Thank you. Well, wrapping it up with what I brought up at the very beginning, I have an uncompromising track record of integrity with the law enforcement career, almost a decade in law enforcement, half of which was with the Savage Police Department. I also have a track record of proving that I can represent the population in negotiation and trying to get the best out of what we can do for a group that I represent with the union there. I also worked with the city leadership in the past as well. I've lived in Savage for a very long time. I have a history of all of those things. And on top of all of this, I am not trying to do anything here other than make the city in which I live in and love better. There's no aspirational gains here aside from that. And so I welcome any and all evolving campaign promises and ideals and motivations going forward. And I evolve as I meet you all. So thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thanks so much, Josh. Faisal, you're up next. Why are you the best candidate to represent our area?
Yes, with the 20+ years of community service and public service, I believe that I could do well in terms of representation of all communities that live here in Savage, Minnesota. And I'm well versed in terms of public service and public policy and laws and ordinances. And I've been doing this for many years, and I have experience with working with the local, federal, and state governments. Also, I believe that I can bring a fresh and different perspective, and I can do well in terms of all communities because I speak many languages that many communities who live in Savage speak, and I can bring a fresh and difference and flavor to the composition of the current or the next council. And I believe, and I also ask the voters to consider that, see you
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you very much. And to round it out, Matt, why are you the best candidate to represent our area?
Thanks, Carter. Well, certainly Savage has been my home for the last 30 plus years, and hopefully another 20 to 30, God willing. But I love the city, and I've been able to experience a lot of different growth opportunities and growth experiences over those years. I think certainly my training as an architect, 30 years of professional practice. I know the power of good planning, the power of good listening, the power of good visioning, and how do you act and acting upon those things with the, again, community's best interests in mind. My previous 2 terms of council, I've been successful in terms of implementing change and growth and progress within not only our liquor operations, in terms of helping turn it around to be a profitable center, but also understand the power of not trying to take away good businesses from other locals, like the marijuana licensing opportunity. Again, believe strongly that needs to be in the private hands and not part of the city activity. I'm excited. I look forward to your vote. Would love to have another term to continue with the work I've done.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Savage Chamber and the Savage Advisory Board, just want to thank you all. It's been a real joy to get to know you. I think it's really important to have these outlets to be able to meet the candidates, and thank you very much for your time and all your enthusiasm.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Thank you
Carter,
so much.
Jennifer.
And
Thank you.
Very much.
Yeah. Thank you to all the candidates. Thank you to Carter for your volunteer leadership, not only in moderating these programs, but also for the Savage Chamber Advisory Board. Again, on behalf of the Savage Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank the candidates for choosing to run for office. It's not a small undertaking, and for your community leadership. Thank you to everyone who's watched today. Please watch the other programs for Savage on our Savage Chamber website and YouTube page. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon.